What's up, guys? This is Joe Gilpin with FloGrappling. CJI 2 is going down August 30th and 31st. And before we get there, I really want to talk about some of the jiu-jitsu techniques that I see evolving and taking off in the game, especially these two ankle locking techniques. One came up recently with WNO 29 when you saw Adele Fornarino, who's going to be in that women's bracket at CJI 2, taking on Jasmine Hocha. That was an absolutely vicious finish. But I think there's really something to be learned there, especially with the way that she was able to navigate and add a little bit more pressure to the ankle lock. Let's take a look. I feel like over the last few years, we've seen a lot of evolution on the way people grip the ankle. You're seeing that with like the Woj lock and Aoki's before that, and the way Mateusz Szczecinski attacks his ankle lock. It's a lot of focus on the exact right way to grip a foot, and that's awesome. But this is a lower body exchange that I really want to talk about, and we're seeing it a lot more, especially in women's jiu-jitsu, which I think is interesting as well, and we'll touch on that in a second. But first, let's just really get into this position that Adele Fornarino was able to finish with. You see shootout style, Jasmine drops back on her own ankle lock, and Jasmine right now is in a little bit more traditional of a leg position. You can't quite see it here, but she's kind of in an outside ashi with both her feet to the outside. Very traditional position to break that foot in. When I say traditional, over the last like 10 years, maybe you've seen this a lot. Meanwhile, Adele Daddy Fornarino is able to work her way in, and now this is a great shot at exactly what we want to talk about. On a traditional ankle lock, you are usually in a single leg X where you're controlling the hip, you're controlling the knee, you're controlling the foot. If the person moves, you're going to be able to move with them. Anywhere they go to defend, for the most part, you have a good shot at staying with them through any rolls, through any inversions, anything like that crazy. You're well attached to them. This is not that, right? You can see that Adele has both her knees to the inside and is actually opening both her knees to the outside, which is adding a lot of pressure here. She's got a great grip on the ankle. All that's well and good. But now here, as things start to lean back more towards the right, towards the footlock that Adele has, this is going to pin the knee of Jasmine down to the mat, and this is going to let Adele get a lot of really good pressure on that ankle as the knee is pinned in place, right? That's really what you want. If you want to break the foot, you have to pin the knee. If you want to break the elbow, you have to pin the shoulder. It always works up the joint, the chain of the joints in that way, right? So now you see, as she gets all the way to this right hip, there's going to be a ton of pressure. This is all of Adele's body weight at this point onto this limb, right? This is not something that you're able to accomplish with a traditional single leg X, where most people are trying to attack and finish their ankle locks from. Instead, it's an incredible amount of power, and you see the tap there came on very quick, but this ankle lock is really, really interesting. Let's see it one more time. You see Jasmine is the one who initiates the leg locks. You initiate those leg locks with Adele. That's an issue. She grabs, and she's hipping in, but she's hipping in with both knees to the inside, right? And that lets her really apply as much body weight as possible. I think when you're someone like Adele Fornarino and you're fighting a little bit smaller, moving up in weight like she was in this way for this matchup, I think that this all adds a lot of positive force. And you saw that come to bear for this ankle lock. Adele is always really far ahead on ankle locking technology. And I started to think to myself, where have we seen this ankle lock before? I know I've seen this before in a different context, and who was it? And that's when I remembered who it was. Another one of jiu-jitsu's best female athletes, probably the best in the gi, not even probably the best in the gi, the best in the gi. Gabby Pisani has been hitting this. Let's take a look at that. All right, I've pulled up Gabby Pisania's no-gi absolute world final, taking on Brianna St. Marie. Obviously, Gabby is well known as the apex predator of women's jiu-jitsu, right? She has dominated everyone in the gi. She's already set records and will continue to set records, and has just looked better and better. She's developed over the years a really incredible straight ankle lock. She credits that to working with Anderson Cowan, who's one of her teammates, who also has an incredible straight ankle lock. Here she is in the no-gi open class world finals, taking on Brianna St. Marie, who had also won a gold medal earlier that event in the lightweight division. Let's take a look at this, right? So Gabby here, she's kind of in this headquarters, almost half waiter's position. She off balances, and she's going to pummel her way, sort of, into a nice Achilles grip. Let's stop there and take a look. You see how she's already setting up on this left side the Achilles grip, but where are the knees? The knees are not in any kind of single leg X that I've ever seen. Instead, they're both to the inside, and they're both going to start adding pressure here. At the time, if I'm being perfectly honest about myself, I kind of attributed Gabby's ability to create pressure in this situation to her prodigious size and strength, right? She's a super heavyweight. She's very, very powerful. She's very technical as well, but she's taking on a lightweight here. So I thought this was a case of she just grabbed a foot and hopped on it and horsed on it until she's able to get the tap. I don't think that's the case anymore. Let's take a look at exactly how she's able to accomplish this. You see the pressure is already coming in, and Brianna's trying to roll. You see Brianna actually smiling a little bit. What a savage. But as she keeps coming to this side and trying to stay on this left side, she's keeping both knees to the inside where she's pinning with her body weight all the way down. Here you see Brianna's trying to pummel legs and she's pushing and she's pulling, but Gabby's keeping with this same idea. Stay on this hip, keep both hips on top of the position, and there's the tap. And there's another gold medal for Gabby Pessanha, the queen of women's jiu-jitsu. Is an incredible submission hold from her. Incredible. So let's take a look one more time at all of this. It's a very similar ankle lock to the one that we just saw. She pummels her way in and she has the lock. Even though she has the outside position, she has the lock. She rolls to this. The key is staying on that left hip. She's applying the pressure. She's pinning with the body weight, opening both knees to help create this tap. You see Brianna doing everything she can. She stayed in this for a long time. This is a very vicious submission to stay stuck in. Brianna's very tough, but the tap, honestly, sort of inevitable at this point once Gabby gets this deep on an ankle lock. So this is really something, and this is not the only example that we have seen of Gabby Pessanha hitting this kind of straight ankle lock. I want to show just one more from the gi. We're going to take a look here at Gabby Pessanha in the gi. I believe she is at Pan Am's. She is fighting Salla Samola. Salla is a no-gi world champion in her own right. Very tough, I believe, from Finland. And where we start, you see that Salla is actually the one who's in on an ankle lock against Gabby. That's really why I wanted to show this clip, because I think it's so interesting the way that Salla is in a good position to ankle lock. In fact, I think a lot of people would say the better position to ankle lock. But now, this evolution is making it so the person who's in a worse spot actually can give it right back on that shootout, and that's what we see happen here. Now, obviously, being Gabby Pessanha helps, but still, technically, I think this is very interesting. Let's take a look as she continues pushing and gripping and getting everything that she needs for this. Now, she actually hits this almost from close guard, but she's still using all these same principles. Nice grip on the foot, opening the two legs to the outside, falling to this hip when she wants to finally finish, and getting the tap even though she is not in a prime breaking position. Our thinking around what makes for the best position to break a foot and what doesn't starts to need to change. It needs to change because of matches like this. Gabby Pessanha, Adele Fornarino, these people are able to accomplish in a new way, and I think that's really worth paying attention to. Somebody who kind of put us onto this early on Road to Worlds this year actually was Liz Clay. Liz Clay showed an example of that. Maybe we could take a look right now.
So a lot of times I'll start here in the De La Hiva and in the sleeve, and I'm gonna circle this in as I place my foot. So I'll circle here because I like to hit this sweep here. So whether I have the sleeve or not, it's not really crazy important, but I just keep it so you don't post. And I'm just gonna wrap here, but I don't wanna go super deep. If I go super deep, by the time you fall, there's no actual straight ankle lock. So I'm just shallow holding, push and kick. And from here, as you're falling, this foot's gonna stay, but I wanna scoot my hip in. And if you notice my knee here, I push it. That helps to push your foot out a little bit too, so that it's not too deep back here. If I stay too deep on this, I'm not gonna get the ankle lock. So I push, and that's gonna help extend it, and I'll bring my hand back. And then I can either grip over, or I can grip my own forearm and grab here. If I have a hard time with the knee turning in, this can help. Okay. And then from here, just pick my hip up, I'm on my shoulder, and I just extend my hip forward.
And there you hear from Liz, one of the best leg lockers in the game, how she's able to accomplish this, how she prefers this position. And I'm taking a lot of my notes from her. Thank you so much. And I think that seeing this evolution, especially in women's jiu-jitsu, has been really, really interesting. I want to talk about one more ankle lock while we're here. The Pato lock has been absolutely taking off. Some people are calling it Valente lock because of Lucas Valente. He was the first person I ever saw hit this, but we're seeing Diego Pato hit it a ton. We're starting to see people who are all over the world hit this more and more as this ability to break a foot starts to change again. We talked about how in the single leg X, you want to control the hip, you want to control the knee, you want to control the foot. This is changing because now you're not controlling the hip anymore. This is a much shorter lock. And because the action is happening and the force is being distributed over a much smaller surface area, I feel like the pressure is going way, way up on these. And the fulcrum is able to achieve a much higher range, which means a lot more braking power ultimately for any of our physics fans out there. Guys, I want to start by telling you about Lucas Valente because he was the first person that I saw hit this. He hit this a few times in a few different tournaments, and he was especially making waves with it in the gi. Originally, I thought it was kind of a gi-specific lock, but I'm starting to see it a lot more in no gi, and this is really interesting. Let's take a look at this. He's got the same grip on the ankle that a lot of guys talk about, not too high, not too low, catching the Achilles like it's a knot in a rope, good pressure against the toes, but it's what he's doing with his legs. Rather than reaping to the inside like we're seeing a lot of guys who want to heel hook do, he's actually taking his inside leg, in this case it's going to be his left leg, and he's reaping over the top the other way, creating a triangle and shortening the distance that he's locking on so that he can create a much bigger effect on the foot and on the shin. Let's take a look at this from this double-seated position. It's going to be the left leg of Lucas coming over and triangling on the legs. Now, I feel like once upon a time we would have said this is very low. The knee of his opponent is slipping the knee line of Lucas, and things are not going to be effective here. But because he's got such a good bite on the foot, as he reaps over, this only increases the pressure, and you're going to see a near immediate tap from his opponent as Lucas is able to get this left leg over. Boom, he triangles, and you see before the guy even hits the mat, he needs to tap out because the lock of this is so strong. It's the combination of not just the upper body ankle lock, but the lower body triangle and the tightness and power that he's able to drive with his hips at that point is really incredible. Let's take one more look. His opponent's actually going to escape this initial version, but boom, once that comes in, that's a big tap. Incredible. But the person who has really started to make this move sing, especially as Lucas starts to transition into MMA, good luck Lucas, is Diego Pato. Diego Pato is always on the forefront of leg locking technology. He is somebody who over the last few years has really been able to make this move his own to the point where people are even calling it the Pato lock. He's hit it in a bunch of really high profile matches. I want to take a look at a few of those, and hopefully you guys can help learn some of what is going on with his game. This is the 2024 Pan Finals. He is taking on Malachi Edmond, who's a world-class guy, not going to tap on anything cheap. But Diego, you're going to see, is going to get to this Pato lock. Incredible finish here from him coming up here. He has the single leg X position. He has a good bite on the ankle. It's nothing crazy, right? It's nothing crazy, but it's this lower body positioning and this triangling of his legs. In this case, Diego's left leg coming up over the top. You see it right there. You see his toes starting to just peek out of the position. And it's kind of on the other side, but this is very much a Pato lock, and it's a very quick tap again from Malachi. That's the thing about this lock that's really impressive. It is the speed and rate and ferocity that guys are having to give up, right? And having to get out of there because it's so, so powerful. Let's take one more look here to see if we can get, you can see that leg up over the top, reaping almost to the outside. It's not a reap. A reap would be going the other way, but this almost reverse reap and the pressure that it creates on the knee is perfectly legal and incredible. You're seeing so much damage coming on from something like this that you really have to stop and pay attention to it, right? This is the Pan Finals. This is a major tournament, and Pato's still able to hit this. Let's take one more look. As Diego throws that leg up and across to the far side, you're going to see so much reaction, so much effect out of this, right? Sits him down, throws that left leg up over the top. And you see it on the face of Malachi right there as Diego Pato is able to bring home another gold medal. Incredible. All right, guys, this was going into day 2 of ADCC last year, one of my most anticipated semifinals. It was Diego Pato taking on Owen Jones, who was having a breakout run. Owen would go on to win the 2024 Breakout Star Award from FloGrappling. Diego Pato would go on to win this match, though. He's going to do it with a Pato lock, and I really want to take a look at this because of some details we're going to point out here. All right, so here we see Diego is up on top passing. We see Owen is on bottom playing guard. Owen is going to invert into the legs. As he does, Diego's going to get a grip on this foot. Let's take a look. There he creates a little bit of space. Here comes the inversion. And now, notice this grip that Diego is getting on that far leg. He has no control of the lower body of Owen at this point. He is just getting an Achilles grip and starting to work off of that. And now you see the lower body position, and especially interesting here, is that Owen's other leg is actually in the way. Owen's other leg, you can see clearly, is in the middle of this lock. That should be interrupting some of the power. If this were a heel hook, you would say that he was not going to get this, right? The other leg is going to provide a little too much interference. That's not the case with the Pato lock, right? You see that leg coming up over the top. The hipping in is more than enough to blow right past through that secondary leg and all the way into the primary leg where he's creating the break. And this was a very serious submission. Owen had to be helped off the mat. I saw Owen later that night. He was having to get helped around. It was a very serious injury to his foot. He ate a lot of damage on this one. This is not a play around kind of submission. This is something that's really doing a lot of damage at the highest levels. Here you see the triangling come in when Owen tries to finally fight it. He held out for as long as he could, but it was no luck. And you see Diego was very excited after that one. Incredible submission win from him. Let's go back and see it again. This, to me, is probably the best example of a Pato lock that we have seen in no-gi competition. You see the inversion. You're going to see Owen, as he starts to react, is going to raise his hips. That's going to let Diego throw in the triangle, and once that triangle is locked in, it's a wrap. Now, it's just a matter of hipping in the same way you would with a lot of different Achilles locks, and there's the submission. Guys, these are two incredible leg lock evolutions that we're seeing in real time at the highest levels of the sport. Diego Pato and Adele Fornarino are going to be in action at CJI 2. Make sure you guys check that out. That's going to be free on YouTube. If you guys have anything else you want to see us break down, hop into the comments. Let me know. My name is Joe Gilpin with FloGrappling. I'll see you guys next time.